I'm gonna give it one more minute. And so let's see if we have a couple more people in the waiting room. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, to the Career Pathways in Kinesiology. We're happy to have you here. We're going to talk to some of the faculty member in kinesiology about their careers and how their kinesiology degrees have helped them. My name is Lainey Dornier. I'm the director of the kinesiology program in the School of Professional Advancement here at Tulane University. We have 3 faculty who are teaching in our school that all come from various degrees in exercise science and kinesiology. I'll let them introduce themselves to you. We can have the next slide, Anne. So I'll let them introduce, I'll say their name and you can introduce yourself, tell us kind of what you're doing right now with what your degree was in and what you're doing right now with your career. First, Frankie.
Hey, how's everybody? My name is Elizabeth Franklin. I also go by Frankie. My degrees are in kinesiology and sports performance, as well as health promotions. I currently, for the last 5.5 years, have been working in the hospice industry. What I normally do is I'm a consultant and I help with PTs, OTs, RTs, evaluate patients, and help recommend equipment that they might need while they're on hospice care. So that's what I've been doing for the last 5.5 years. A lot of my background with Kines was not only for undergrad, but graduate work. Different classes with senior adults have helped me a lot with that, as well as all the A&P and practical applications that we've been doing. Helps with those consults for patients during their end of life to improve their quality of life.
Well, thanks, Frankie. And for those that might not know the initials, A&P is that very famous anatomy and physiology class that students love so much. So thanks, Frankie. And next we have Nickie Harris-Ray.
Good morning. I am Nickie Harris-Ray. By training, I am a surgical podiatrist, but I am also an educator and a nonprofit CEO. My degrees are in chemistry. I have a master's in public health, and my doctorate is in podiatric medicine and surgery. By that, I am a doctor who specializes in diseases of the ankle and foot. For the kinesiology program, I teach several classes, including mind and body health, childhood obesity. I've taught global health and several other classes.
Thank you, Nickie. And Nickie's background is kind of broad, which also brings up the point about a lot of students in the kinesiology program may choose to go on into these clinical programs like podiatry or allied health programs like physical therapy and occupational therapy. So thank you very much, Nickie. And then finally, we have Irina Tereschenko.
Hi, everybody. My name is Irina Tereschenko, and I got my degree in sport management, and it basically allowed me to do a number of different things. Currently, I am a professional pickleball player, but of course, as you know, on hold. So I'm just dreaming about winning golds everywhere. But also, I'm a tennis coach, and I host tournaments. And for Tulane, I teach a class, Stages of Athletic Development, very fun exploration of art and science of coaching.
Very good. Thank you very much, Irina. So one of the things we want to do is ask these 3 professionals some questions related to their degree that might be helpful for students that are thinking about or are currently in a kinesiology program and get their perspective, because some of them recently have graduated and some have had their degree for several years, and they've had a variety of backgrounds related to kinesiology. So we'll kind of go in a different order and I'll call out. So Elizabeth, or Frankie, as you like to be called, tell us about how your degree helped you in your current job.
Yeah, so in undergraduate, I mentioned some senior adult classes. Those were really eye-opening for me. I thought my path would always be with athletics. I played sports my whole life. I always thought it would be that. But it quickly changed once I had that class, the experiences that I had with the older population, realizing that was going to be a lot of our future as our population get older and different things like that. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me. What I didn't expect was how much of my anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, all of those classes portray to that. I always thought of younger generations, how to improve sports, how to improve athletes, but not necessarily using it to the older senior adult level. So those were a lot of combinations of learning how biomechanics works, actual application of sport, not necessarily to compete in sports, but how to evaluate patients at the hospice level to make sure that they don't do things like fall, or that they can still, move about their homes and different things like that. So all of those were combinations of just broadening my view, which was extremely narrowed at the beginning of my college career.
Okay, and Nickie, how about you? Can you add to anything about how your degree, and I know you came from a more of a not traditional kinesiology necessarily background, but your background certainly prepared you for a position in a kinesiology program, and what you're doing
Absolutely.
now could be very much what somebody with a kinesiology degree might be doing. So can you talk a little bit about how your degree and how you ended up in a kinesiology field?
My undergraduate degree is in chemistry, but the good thing about kinesiology is it works with all of the science disciplines. People who focus on kinesiology have to have some type of exposure to biology or chemistry or physics. My degree in particular made me more competitive when applying to graduate level schools or to medical school or what have you. The people that I know that have degrees in kinesiology, a lot of them are in hospital type jobs, and they're over the occupational therapy program, or they're over the physical therapy program. Other providers that I have worked with have backgrounds in kinesiology as well. So a degree in kinesiology, whether on the undergraduate level or the graduate level, makes a candidate more competitive in whatever job market they're going into, because it's a very strict discipline.
Good. Thank you very much, Nickie. And Irina, you come from a very different background. You actually were a tennis player in college and then had a different undergraduate degree and then went to sports management and have kind of led your careers going into fields in kinesiology, both coaching and as a player. So can you talk a little bit about how your background in kinesiology has led to the career choices that you've made?
Well, I think, and maybe a lot of people can relate to my experiences. I've always been one of those people who actually didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I chose degree in sport management as something very broad. And I knew if I stay in coaching or if I do in events management, I'm going to have the tools to go in the multiple different directions. And I will have an opportunity to work at different layers of athletics. If I wanted to work for Parks and Rec, if I wanted to work in youth sports, if I wanted to work in professional athletics, I think all those opportunities were available for me. So I kind of developed organically with my degree, and I've done a number of different jobs like hosting tournaments and managing events, and some practical knowledge I gained from my degree was absolutely essential for doing those things. And of course, in the field of coaching, my degree was very helpful, primarily actually in figuring out how to build relationships with people, and figure out how to build relationships with players and parents, and finding how different personalities relate differently to same message, and just being flexible. That was very, very important part for me that helped me from the school.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Irina. So now I'm going to take a little bit different to educate our students. Sometimes students are in school and they kind of take a wrong turn and they think, oh, well, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. And then they end up, in a career that's absolutely related to what they were started in kinesiology or whatever that may be. So can you tell us a little bit, have you ever made any, and I'll go backwards this time. I'll start with Irina. Irina, tell us, have you ever made any wrong turns, like in your career or even in school, where you were in school and something happened and you made a wrong turn, or there was a little hiccup in that experience? And how did you resolve that, and how did you get past it?
I've made multiple wrong turns, and in school, again, my indecisiveness was part of it. I changed majors, I think 6 or 7 times. And I started with like management information systems because that was a hot thing to do. And I realized that's maybe not my avenue. And I basically kept changing majors until my athletic academic advisor told me that I have to settle on something, otherwise I would not graduate. I would say that my experience in kinesiology was a little bit more smooth, and I enjoyed staying in the program the whole time. And I think in my career, I kind of took different turns, and I decided to go into professional sports one more time when I was actually in my 30s. So I was prepared, and I knew I always have something I can apply my degree, whatever turn I make. It gave me a foundation to go in multiple different directions.
You know, just because you said that about professional sports, do you think that having a degree in kinesiology related to sport management has helped you being a professional athlete?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you know, you only young for so long, and maybe being a professional athlete gets you in the door to meet different people and to kind of see what your industry is about. But then when you actually, your body breaks down and you're tired of playing, it's time to do something else. So far I've had some opportunities for consulting, for facilities consulting. People ask me if they want to convert a tennis facility to a pickleball facility or figure out how to combine both of them. They reach out just because I'm kind of in the sport and my experience matters. And I've done a little bit of sports commentating, which has been very, very interesting in my field. And that might be a potential career. You guys might see me on ESPN 8 taking interviews from people. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Irina. Frankie, how about you? Can you tell us if you've had any wrong turns? And I know you were an athlete in college also. I believe you played softball. But can you talk about if you had any wrong turns or anything that happened in your career that you had to overcome?
Yes, I started out as a biology major and switched quickly after the first few weeks to kinesiology. It definitely wasn't what I thought I should be in. And then once I got into the kines program, it was extremely smooth career path with all of the different avenues and possibilities that I thought aligned with my life at the time. I also made an error at the end of my senior year. I had like 4 or 5 labs that I had to do, so I wasn't on a good path during the whole time. And then I finally able to kind of get it all together. I did play softball in college. That's probably something that was the best experience being a college athlete, kind of similar to what Irina was saying with relationships. And a lot of that has to do with my job now, making relationships and learning as you go. I've had 2 or 3 different jobs before I have the one now. It was in corporate wellness, non-conventional physical therapy. All of those were great experiences, but not really a forward movement of what I wanted to do versus what I do now. But all of those things were great experiences, although not what I ended up doing for the long period of time. But it was great meeting new people, great hearing other ideas and opinions of what people thought, you know, their career path would be. Where did they come from? How was their life different up until that point? And then we met at this, you know, similar juncture. So I think it's really great with different experiences, different relationships, being the focal point of where you are in life, where you go in life, and how you experience those things.
Good, thank you very much. And Nickie, can you tell us about a little bit if you've made any wrong turns or had any blips when you were working towards your degree?
I won't say that I had any wrong turns, but I had turns that made my path a little longer than they could have been. I have a story that's kind of similar to, frankly, I started off as a biology major, and biology is basically memorizing and learning information and giving it back. But I found my first year in college that I was doing much better in my chemistry and math courses versus my biology courses. And this is because I'm more practical. I like to put things together, take them apart, add them, divide them, figure them out versus straight memorization. So I did end up changing my major as well. I changed it to chemistry, and I did a lot better. In order to stay on the right path and to graduate in 4 years, of course, I had to take some extra classes over a summer. And I feel like that was a summer I could have been doing an internship or something else to diversify my resume. So that was one path that was kind of different. Another thing is when you know you want to go into medicine, or you know you want to go into health or kinesiology, the different ways of getting there may not be apparent. What I mean by that is no one in my family comes from medicine. All they knew is nursing and doctor. There are so many things in between. And I feel like if I would have known of the other paths to get to this particular point, I could have gotten there maybe faster, maybe more easily. Back when I was in undergrad, there wasn't really an internet and Google and all of that back in the Stone Ages. But now there is a wealth of information out there so that students can actually see everything that is out there. There's opportunities to intern, to do summer programs, to work side by side with a mentor. I feel like if I would have had that information, that's another path that would have been different for me.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a really good point Nickie made about choosing an internship. Some programs have internships, some programs don't have internships. And all of you are in careers that are quite different, but have a kinesiology as a basis. So can you talk a little bit about what do you see in your field, in the area you're working in now? What are the careers that you think are up and coming that we're going to need over the next 10 years? And what kind of educational background might people need to have those careers? And so we'll mix it up around. I'll start with you this first time, Frankie. You go first this time.
Yeah, so in the hospice industry, it's home health and hospice are kind of paired together. But I think kind of piggybacking off of the internships, the volunteering, to do that as soon as possible. Don't wait until you've graduated or juniors or seniors or anything. Start when you are freshmen. Start getting in there. For hospice, for example, there are nurses, aides, caregivers, directors, office managers, all kinds of avenues just in this one hospice industry. Home health is a little bit different, but they need all of those people to help care for these patients. You can go into nursing facilities, you can volunteer there. Any type of internship or volunteer work or observations that you can do as early as possible is going to be the best thing that you can do, because you might think something is the path that you're going to take, and when you see the day-to-day, that might be completely not what you want to do. So definitely get in there as soon as possible in anything and diversify yourself. Don't just go into one thing thinking that that is what you're going to be. A lot of people don't know what they want to do. So the more you can get in there at the beginning, the better it will be. That way you're not scrambling once you've graduated trying to figure that out.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. And Nickie, I want to hear your input also about kind of in your careers, but also you've worked with a lot of our students. And so as all of you know, some of our students are adult learners. We really do try to offer programs for adult learners. And so a lot of them have full-time jobs, and internships may not be an option because they're working full-time. So can you talk a little bit about your own experience of what you think the field is where you are, what's growing in the field, what's happening in healthcare, what you think will happen over the next 10 years? And also maybe think about what would your recommendation for adult learners that want to go into this? What's the best way for them to prepare for these careers?
Okay. As far as health and wellness in the future, and directly as it relates to kinesiology, I see a lot of jobs in nursing and rehab. Kinesiology, of course, you're working with the body and sports medicine and things like that. I'm finding that at every single age level or every demographic, we see a growing population of people with disabilities that need different types of physical therapy. And I feel like nursing and kinesiology and wellness backgrounds are something that's definitely going to be needed And I think that people will be hired into positions straight out of undergrad and possibly landing a job that will pay for you to go back to school and get your master's or some type of certification in kinesiology type backgrounds. As far as adults and adults coming into the field straight out of their career or changing careers, I feel like an undergraduate degree in the wellness and kinesiology program would once again make them competitive. We do see with a lot of employers, they want people with an educational background in something, but they really want people with experience as well. And so coming out of undergrad as a traditional student, yes, you may have done some internships, but a person that has been in the field kind of indirectly for several years would be competitive with a new degree in kinesiology and a background, say, in hospice care or public health, or even working with athletes either on a college level or a professional level would be very competitive.
Okay, thank you, Nickie. And Irina, you're in a little bit different field because you're working in professional sports and kind of the sport management perspective. So can you talk to us a little bit about in the area of sports, what's happening and what jobs and what careers might be available for people with a degree in kinesiology and what experiences might help them if they were trying to get these jobs?
Absolutely. I think one of the very popular careers is college coaching or athletic administration. And those are one of those jobs that actually require you to wear many different hats. And for example, as a college coach, you have to be an event manager, you have to know about strength and conditioning, you have to know how to recruit. There are all these different areas. You have to know how to budget, you have to know how to do social media and PR for your team. So if you kind of jack of all trades, college athletics is definitely an avenue that you can take and let all your talents shine. And then, for example, if you like to focus on something a little bit more specific, and we can take any sport, we can take pickleball, for example. It's a growing sport, and it's about to explode internationally. So again, something like event management is going to come very, very handy because people like to play tournaments. So if you can go out there and create events that are popular and help grow the sport and attract new people and bring in new facilities and kind of market it together, that's a fantastic opportunity. Another area would be statistics and records and maybe a little bit even of software design, because if you have all these players who need to get ranked and you need to keep track of their record, you could possibly design a software that helps you manage all that. You could also design a software that helps people register for tournaments. There's so many things you can do kind of electronically in this area. And of course, people get injured when they play sports. So maybe not a sport management perspective, but athletic training is huge. Physical therapy or just kind of preventative approach to being well and staying healthy. That's a great avenue that students with kinesiology degrees can take in almost any sport. I think pickleball might be a little bit easier, and it's a unique position now because it's expanding. But yeah.
Thanks, Irina. And Irina brought up a good point too about this whole notion about the IT part of it or developing software part of it that brings up the issue too about sometimes.
Yeah, she's in a meeting right now, but
Somebody needs to put their mute to mute. Somebody's got background noise going on. But so you can also might want to minor in something. So you have a kinesiology major and it's looking what you can do with a degree in kinesiology and also minor in something that you might be interested, whether that's something related to like web design or working in wellness or working in, even sports security or these other fields that are kind of growing fields within the area of wellness and sports. So that's a good idea also. One of the last questions I want to ask, and then we'll leave it open for questions, but what is one thing that would have been helpful for you to know earlier in your career? So had you known this earlier in your career, whether it was when you were in school or even starting out as a professional, what is one thing you wish you would have known or somebody would have told you early in your career? And I'll start with you, Nickie.
I think I would have learned to diversify myself more as far as what I expose myself to, classes, training, internships. I do a lot of that now. Even though I've been in my career for well over a decade, I did go back to school and get my master's in public health. And then in December, I went back and received my certification in women's entrepreneurship. One thing I like to joke about is, I've been in my career all this time and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And so I wish I would have diversified myself more early on.
Good. Thank you very much. Frankie?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I would say the same thing is not just, some people know what they want to do early on. A lot of people don't, but I would definitely have spread myself out more. I probably would have asked a lot more questions early on, gotten to know my professors more as, early on in my college career, ask more questions, not been afraid to approach them. As you get older and you're around them more, you get a little bit more comfortable. So I probably would have asked a lot more questions, did more as far as observations, volunteering, different things like that. Now what I do a lot more, because with my job, I'm pretty busy, but I read a lot of articles. With technology, we need to use that to our benefit now that we do have access to that information outside of where we might think our focus should be. But educating myself, not so much with what I thought I should do with athletics and sports, which is fantastic. I still do that a little bit now, but I would have branched out more just to see, because our kinesiology avenue is so broad that everybody starts in one place and the branches are just infinite.
Good. Thank you very much. And Irina, can you tell us one thing that would have been helpful for you to know early in your career?
I would agree with Frankie and Nickie. I think diversifying a little bit more and maybe bringing yourself out of your comfort zone. So an example of this would be that my internship at the end of my graduate program I did with college tennis, and it was perfect to suit the description, and I got practice in all the areas like budgeting and finance and team travel. But I feel like that was already my strong suit. I graduated as a college athlete and I knew how the system and the industry works. So I feel like I could have bypassed that area because I already had some knowledge and experience and got out of my comfort zone and maybe try to do my internship with a professional organization or maybe with a youth sports organization, but something I didn't know much about, instead of kind of staying in my comfort zone. I think I would encourage to maybe try something different if you can.
Yeah, I think that, it seems like the consistent message we're getting from people is diversify, get as much experiences as you can. I think that's really good advice. Also, if you're on and you're a student and you have questions, or even if you're not a student, if you have questions, put those in the message box and we'll get to those. There's a little chat right at the bottom, a little chat button, and you can hit that chat button and give us your questions. But back to, I think the whole notion of diversifying is really good. Get experiences. We have a tendency to take the classes that we think we can do the best in, maybe not the classes we can learn the most from. And certainly at Tulane University, we've set up the curriculum so that there's a lot of opportunity for electives and for you to choose coursework. And so I think I would mirror what these professionals have said to you, is that try to choose coursework that's going to expand your knowledge, and choose coursework that may not be the best thing that you can do or the easiest thing that you can do, but maybe the best that you can learn the most from. So thank you all very much. Does any of the three professionals have any last words that they want to share with the group? Anne's put up on the screen our website where you can learn more about our programs. We have a Bachelor of Arts in Health and Wellness and a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, and we have some other programs. We're all here and we're happy to help you and teach you about any of these programs if you have more questions. But I'll also leave it, does anybody here have any last words of wisdom they'd like to give to potential kinesiology students about selecting a career in kinesiology? No one? Well, that's great. Y'all have given a lot of information. So I really appreciate the information you've shared with us. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to share information with our students. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, and everybody have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.